Picture this. It's a public pool on a Saturday, packed, kids screaming, somebody's portable speaker blasting, the smell of chlorine and sunscreen baking off the concrete. There's a lifeguard up on the chair, maybe 19 years old, scrolling through his phone between glances at the water. You're in the deep end with a couple of friends, treading water, laughing about something. Then you go to grab the wall and you misjudge it. Your hand slips. You go under for a second, come up, swallow a mouthful of water, cough, go under again. Nobody notices. You're 3 feet from a dozen people and not one of them is looking at you. And just like that, you've started doing the quietest thing a human body ever does. You've started drowning. Oh, hey there. I'm your host, dead, mildly waterlogged, and back again to ruin something you thought was relaxing. Today, we're talking about drowning. And before we get into your lungs and your bloodstream and the part where your brain quietly files the paperwork on you, let's play a quick game. I'm going to give you some myths about drowning, and you tell me true or false. Ready? Myth 1. Drowning is loud. Lots of splashing, screaming, waving your arms over your head for help. True or false? False. That's Hollywood. Real drowning is almost completely silent. Your body needs the little air it has left for breathing, not yelling. There's a thing called the instinctive drowning response, and it makes you press your arms down on the water just to keep your mouth above the surface. You can't wave, you can't shout, you look like you're treading water until you're not there anymore. Myth 2. If someone's drowning, you'll have plenty of time to notice and pull them out. True or false? False. From the moment a person starts truly drowning to the moment they go under for good, you've usually got 20 to 60 seconds. For a kid, sometimes less. That's why people drown at crowded pools surrounded by adults. Everyone assumes someone else is watching. Myth 3. Once they pull you out and you cough up the water, you're fine. True or false? Also false. People can survive the water and still die hours later from what happens to your lungs afterward. Getting out is not the same as being okay. Anyway, more on that little gift later. Alright, now let's talk about what actually happens when your body stops getting air and starts getting water instead. Because drowning isn't one event, it's a sequence, and your body fights every single step of it. It starts with the breath hold. You're under, and for the first stretch, you're still calm, still in charge. You're holding your breath the way you'd hold it diving for a coin as a kid. The average person can manage maybe 30 seconds to a minute and a half before things get desperate. Trained freedivers go way longer, but you are not a trained freediver. You're a guy who slipped at the deep end. And here's the part most people get wrong. The urge to breathe isn't about running out of oxygen, it's about carbon dioxide. As you hold your breath, CO2 piles up in your blood, and your body absolutely cannot stand that. So it sends the alarm. Your chest starts to burn. Your diaphragm, that big muscle under your lungs, starts twitching on its own. Little involuntary jerks trying to force you to inhale. Your body is no longer asking. It's negotiating, and it's about to stop negotiating entirely. Somewhere around the minute mark, your coordination falls apart. The oxygen in your brain is dropping, and your brain runs everything, so everything gets sloppy. Your strokes get weaker. Your kicks lose their rhythm. You're trying to claw upward, but it's like swimming through wet cement. And then your body does the one thing you were terrified of. It overrides you. You gasp. You suck in hard. Because every primitive system you've got has decided that breathing right now is worth the gamble. And water comes pouring into your mouth and down your throat. The first thing your body does in response is genuinely clever and completely cruel. Your larynx, the gateway to your windpipe, slams shut. It's called laryngospasm, and it's a reflex to keep water out of your lungs. The problem is, it also keeps air out. So now you can't breathe in, you can't breathe out, and you're effectively choking on nothing. For somewhere between 10 and 20% of people, this is where it ends. The spasm holds, they suffocate, and barely any water makes it into the lungs at all. The old term for that was dry drowning. Your own body sealed the door and forgot you were still inside. For everyone else, the spasm eventually gives out, and the water gets in. And this is where it goes properly wrong. Your lungs are packed with hundreds of millions of tiny sacs called alveoli, and their entire job is to hand oxygen from the air over to your blood. They cannot do that job when they're full of pool water, and the type of water actually changes how you die, which is a fun little detail nobody asked for. Salt water is saltier than your blood, so it drags water out of your bloodstream and into your lungs, basically drowning you in your own fluids. Fresh water does the opposite. It floods through your lung lining into your blood, thinning it out and popping red blood cells like overfilled balloons. Different chemistry, same outcome. Your oxygen levels fall off a cliff. And now your brain is starving. Not low, starving. Your cognition starts to disintegrate in real time. Logic goes, memory goes. You might genuinely forget how you got here, forget you're even in a pool. Some people, weirdly, stop panicking at this stage. Not because they have made peace with anything, but because the part of the brain that generates fear has run out of fuel to run on. Your vision tunnels down to a pinhole. Sounds warp into this distant underwater hum. You might see things that aren't there. Flashes, shapes, faces. Your brain is throwing static at you because it's losing signal. Meanwhile, your heart is in full crisis. It's been hammering away trying to push oxygen to your brain, but there's no oxygen left to push, so it's just an engine redlining with an empty tank. The rate spikes, then turns erratic, skipping and stuttering, then fibrillating, which is a fancy word for quivering uselessly instead of pumping. Your blood pressure caves. Whatever's left in you gets rationed to the heart and brain while everything else gets cut off. And then, 2, maybe 3 minutes under, the lights go out. You lose consciousness. And honestly, that's the kindest thing that happens in this entire process. After that, your heart limps along for a little while, slower and slower until it just stops. Cardiac arrest. From the surface, you look almost peaceful, floating face down, completely still. People mistake that stillness for calm. It isn't calm. It's the most violent thing your body has ever been through. Finally finished. So what does all of this actually feel like? Let's go there, because the biology is only half of it. At the start, it's pure animal terror. Your whole nervous system dumps adrenaline into you at once. You're clawing at the water, reaching for anything solid, anything that floats, and there's nothing. Drowning is also brutally exhausting. You're fighting your own weight and the water at the same time, and your muscles burn through everything they've got in seconds. Then comes the inhale, and that part is agony. It feels like your throat and chest are being torn apart from the inside. This searing, choking, convulsing horror that you cannot stop no matter how hard you try. And then, mercifully, the panic starts to fog over. The confusion rolls in. Time stops behaving normally. A few seconds can feel like minutes. Some survivors talk about floating outside their own bodies, watching themselves from above, which isn't your soul leaving. It's your oxygen-starved brain losing track of where you end and the water begins. And here's the part that gets romanticized way too often. A handful of people who've been pulled back describe a strange warmth at the very end. A wave of calm, almost peace. That's just endorphins, your brain's last little painkiller on the way out. Don't let anyone sell you on it being beautiful. That peace only shows up after the terror, after the burning, after the fight. It's the credits rolling, not the movie. Now, reality check, because this one isn't medieval history. Drowning kills around 300,000 people every year worldwide. It is one of the leading causes of accidental death for children. And for little kids under 5, a huge chunk of it happens in home pools and bathtubs, often with a parent only a few feet away. Remember that 20 to 60 second window. That's the whole reason it's so deadly. It doesn't look like an emergency until it's already over. And remember that lung thing I mentioned? It's real. After near drowning, water and irritation in the lungs can cause swelling and breathing problems hours later, which is why anyone who's been pulled out and had a rough time in the water needs to get checked, even if they seem totally fine walking around afterward. The good news, and there is some, is that drowning is incredibly survivable if someone gets to you fast. CPR works. Rescue breathing works. A bystander who actually notices and acts in the first minute can drag you all the way back from the edge. So learn to swim. Actually learn, not the doggy paddle. Respect rip currents because fighting one head on is how strong swimmers die. Don't swim alone, and for the love of everything, watch the kids in the water like it's your only job, because for that hour it is. So there you have it. Drowning. Silent, fast, and absolutely nothing like the movies promised you. Like and subscribe if you enjoy slowly losing the ability to relax near any body of water. Next time on whatever this channel is, I haven't picked yet. So leave your suggestions in the comments and I'll pick the most upsetting one. And hey, go drink some water from a cup with your head above it, the safe way.